Okie dokie. Hello, everybody. I've had some tech difficulties this morning. My apologies. I think I'm still having tech difficulties. Wait, I'll just zoom myself in. It's freezing here. Wait, I'll just move my dog around on my. Oh, sorry, mouse. Okay, let me get myself all organized. Okay. Whoa. Okie dokie. I think all's good. Okay, so this is our weekly Q&A. I'm doing it on YouTube at the moment. When I work out how to live stream to Facebook as well, I'll do that. And I wonder if I've got a little linky down here somewhere. What's this? Oh, okay. Wait. I don't know what that is. Okay, I think I'm all good, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm just sorting myself out here. I've got my dog on my lap. I've got my I've got to make another coffee. And I've got some questions to answer. So what I'm going to do, if you can just give me one moment, I'm going to turn my coffee machine on because it's been really hectic this morning. I've got one sip here left here. And it's freezing. I've had some tech issues. I've had phone calls come through and I'm a little bit all over the place. So I'll just pop Minnie down there, put my coffee machine on, and I'll be back. This dog's taken off with my sock. Are you okay, Lulu? You're looking a little bit cold there. Are you cold, Lulu? Are you cold? You're a little bit cold. Okay, let's just do that. Hey guys, let's turn my coffee on because I can't function without a coffee. Okay, Lulu's cold, so we're going to have to put a rug over the dog. Here we go. There we go. Okay. Sorry, guys, I'm very disorganized. I'll just make my coffee and then I'll come back and answer the questions. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. Dog's okay. Making the coffee. It's freezing. Oh, it's spring. Beautiful. Oh my gosh, it's cold. Wait a second, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to close this. Lulu, you stay, baby. Okay, guys, my apologies. So every live, we introduce a dog because I've got 7 dogs. I think I introduced my new whippet last week, didn't I? How about you've met Minnie, you've met Poppy, you've met Squiggles, you've met Ruby. I think it's just, okay, here we go. I was going to meet Crystal, but let's just do Suki. I meet Suki. Oh, Suki, come here. She's a little bit nervous. I don't know if Suki's... Here's Suki. Okay. Dookie Lookie Wookie. So Suki is a little rescue dog. Here's Suka Wooka. She is a Shih Tzu. She's not very camera She's a Shih Tzu cross. We don't know. Yeah, so she's a little rescue with Poppy. And she is, I got you when you were 5, and you're probably about 6.5 now. So there's Suki. She was very skinny when she came to me. Now she's very curvaceous, aren't you? Hey, so I couldn't even touch her. She squealed when I went to pick her up, like she had broken ribs or something. I don't know what happened to them, but she's very happy now. She's not really a photo camera girl, are you, Sukas? You're looking a little bit perturbed there. But anyway, this is my little Suki Bookie. Suki Wookie Lukey is what I call her. Crystal, so there, dog of the week. There you go, Suk. So pop you down. It's okay, darling. It's okay. Okay, come on. Let's just do our live, guys. It's just like crazy house here. Seriously? Dogs everywhere. Okay. Let me just do this. Okay, got my coffee. The dog's up there. Now, let's go to our question. Let's make sure I'm in the camera. I'm just going to the question. Okay. I've lost my question. Let me just find out. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Okay. So this is a question Melissa Island asked. Hey, Karen, unfortunately, I won't be able to tune into the live feed as I'll be at work. But I have a gelding who is just starting out his career after racing. I've taken him to a couple of club days where he's been a bit anxious and going into racehorse mode. Is there anything I can do to help him relax when out, especially in new environments? Do calming pace work? Thanks. I'm in Australia. Cool, you're in Australia. So I asked, so I replied, so Melissa sent me this question under our my post yesterday, letting you know my life today. So I just wanted to get a few more details. So I asked if you can give me a few more details, how long he's been off the track for. Has he had any retraining, or are you starting him fresh off the track yourself? What is his diet? What are you feeding him? So this will give me some more insight and understanding his anxiousness at club days. So Melissa replied, his last raced in June 2021. So June 2000. So he's been off the track less than a year. Okay. So I'm just going to put this point down. He had 51 starts, so he had a decent race career. Be interesting if Melissa, if you wanted to share his race name, I'm happy to. I love. I can look more into it. 51 starts. If you wanted to, I love looking up the racehorses history, and because I know a lot of the Australian trainers, and I can also look up to see what his racing history was like, whether he had any injuries or there was any embargoes. It just gives me an idea. If you were happy to share his race name. It gives me an idea of what his racing career was like. So he's had an intensive race career. He's had 51 starts, so he's had a decent race career. He's 7 years old. So I'm just writing this down. Also, his breeding too. Looking at his breeding gives me an idea of his nature, his temperament. He had a quick stint with a retrainer before being rehomed and sent back out to paddock to put some weight on. So you're almost starting from scratch. He's on meadow, round, and has a basic hard feed, which includes microbeat, Vita Stance, magnesium, brewer's yeast, and a joint supplement with a token of 0 pellets. Cool. And two liter scoops of loosened chaff. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to look up VitaStance. Don't know VitaStance. Diet is really important. So the first thing I look at is diet. With any behavior issues with horses, one of the first things I look at is diet, because diet can be very influential in their temperament. Certain feeds can cause a lot of anxiety and that hot type of behavior, agitation and explosive type of behavior. I'm just going to look up VitaStance just to make, sorry, Mouse, I've got my hot water bottle sitting here next to my dog. VitaStance equine. Okay, stance. VitaStance, stance, equitic. Balanced supply of minerals, trace minerals, and come on, go. So I'm just looking up just to make sure that there's nothing in his ingredients. So let's just have a look at the ingredients. Okay, proprietary blend of vitamins, minerals, and amino acids, magnesium oxide, magnesium sulfate, seaweed-derived calcium. That's good. It's actually a good supplement. Inositol, silica, coconut meal, coconut oil. I'm not sure about the coconut meal and oil. Inositol, what's that? Everything looks good in it. So it's high in calcium, which is good. And it's high in magnesium. So it looks like he's getting his magnesium, which is a calming, like magnesium is very good. And he's getting his calcium. I'm not sure about inositol. I'll just do. A carbocyclic sugar that is abundant in the brain and other mammalian, it mediates cell transaction. Okay. There we go. There we go. I've never seen inositol before, but it's a type of sugar that helps provide structure to your cells and your brains. It also affects the hormone insulin and the function. Okay, so his supplement looks really good. His diet looks really good. What I would just make sure to check what's Sukas. Let's give me some dogs. Check his meadow hay. So what type of grasses are in the meadow hay? You don't want to make sure that he's not on Suki, come on. So just understand what's in your meadow hay. So is it full of ryegrass? Is it or is it oaten hay, which is very high? So you don't want any high starch, high sugar, high fructan hays or grasses, because that can affect their gut health in that. So I just look more into what is in your meadow hay and make sure that it's not a high sugar, high starch, high carbohydrate hay. It's good. My favorite hays are Rhodes hay and Teff hay. If you can't get Rhodes hay, I would prefer giving Rhodes hay, Rhodes and Lucerne hay, a combination of Rhodes and Lucerne hay than a meadow hay, unless you know exactly what's in your meadow hay, because some meadow hays can be very high in carbohydrates and sugars, which can upset the microbiome in the gut and cause high gut acidosis and that. So my first thing would be to look at diet and gut health. So just check his diet looks really good. Make sure that he has 24/7 access to hay and pasture. But if the pasture is really green, make sure that it's a high fibrous hay, and it's a low starch, low carbohydrate hay. So I'd look at the meadow hay and make sure that it's not a high carbohydrate hay. So it'd be good to know what type of grasses are in your meadow hay. And The next one I would ask is, have you had him scoped for gastric ulcers? It's really important to make sure that there's no gastric ulcers. Yeah, because that, oh, excuse me, I've got the hiccups. Every time I do a live, I get hiccups. I lost it. Make sure that he is free of gastric ulcers. So I would suggest having him scoped for gastric ulcers if you haven't, because that's definitely going to affect some type of behavior. Even though he's calm and everything at home, horses hide pain very, very well. You just want to eliminate any other cause of his behavior. Now, I know you replied to me with that. So he's very alert, fidgety, and generally doesn't want to stand still, starts scouring. So he's obviously, if he's starting to scour, he's very, very nervous. He's highly anxious and nervous. Not great at being tied up. So I presume, even though he's good at home, I presume he's pulling back. So that's a sign that he's not clear in his basic responses as well. He doesn't understand how to give to pressure, even though he's good at home. It's showing that he's not consolidated in his basic responses, because even though he's good at home, he needs to be able to be showing he's consolidated in his basic responses out in other environments. So I would just check, and I'm going to do a video on how to check whether your horse is where he's at with his basic responses. So I'll do a video this week on that. I'll do 2 videos this week, and that's going to be that on that. So just the fact that he's probably, if he's not good at tying up, I presume he's pulling back. So it does show a sign that he needs to be clear. There needs to be some more training. Well, you said that you started some basic equitation science training, so that's really good. And another thing is getting a bit hard to handle and lead, and just generally turns into an arrogant buffhead. I haven't yet tried to ride him at the club, so that's good. So you don't want to try and ride him at that club at the moment while he's like this. It's a matter of now teaching him new associations. At home, we are mostly working under saddle. He's such a gentleman at home. I haven't needed to do lots and lots of reinforcements on the ground because he seems to get it so quickly. But we have started doing some basic equitation science stuff, although haven't had a chance to test it while out as yet. I just want to make the transition to pleasure horses stress-free as I can for my boy. Wonderful. So wonderful. You've got the right attitude, and yeah, fantastic. So let me just, so even though you think it's interesting, because horses, I mean, they're in an environment where they're not associating. Horses learn by association. So just by your boy's behavior when he's out at club, he's associating it to racing. He's associating it going out and to a racing environment, going out to the races. And so we need to change his learnt behaviors, change his associations. Now, he's had 51 starts, so he's had a decent race career. He's got a lot of repeated associations. He goes out to a different environment. It's usually a race. Well, it is a racing environment. He's anticipating racing. He's anticipating the pain of racing. He's obviously nervous. He's scouring. So I would say that he's like most racehorses, he experienced discomfort in racing. It's racing is very demanding of them. I'd love to look up his racing history. I'd love to know his race name so I can look him up for you, and give me a really good idea of his life in racing. So he's showing anxieties and stress. So he's associating going out to the club with racing. So we need to change that. We need to teach new associations for him. And this is going to take time, and it's going to also take a really good retraining him in clear and consistent training in his basic foundation. So I know you said that he seems to be that he's a gentleman at home and he doesn't need lots of reinforcements, which is fantastic. He's probably we need to go right back to his basic foundation. So even though he's nice and calm at home and he doesn't seem to need reinforcements, it's going back and checking where is he very light, giving to pressure? Is he flowing? Is he fluid in his movements? And I'd say he isn't. And even though he seems nice and calm, it's going back and having him very light to his responses, because then you can be very clear when he goes out to these environments and he's anticipating racing or pain or stress and anxiety from the racing environment. You have more of a control of him. So at the moment, you are not able to have him light to the responses. So when he's clear in his training, he will, just having clear responses will help him calm down. So it's going to be a matter of going back and retraining his basic responses. So for example, the horse that just recently went home here, Ty, he was a very, very quiet racehorse. I think he had about 71 starts. He very quiet. He was a little bit, if anything, he was a little bit dull to the age. So even though they can be really calm, they can be a bit shut down, and that's a bit of a sign of learned helplessness. So Ty was bought for a 13-year-old girl. He's beautiful. He was very quiet. He used to just jack up a little bit for her. When she rode him out to the gate, he would turn around and want to go back to the gate. But he was just so quiet. You could walk underneath his legs and everything. That's how quiet he was. But he had an intense racing career. He displayed a form of learned helplessness. He was very shut down. And had he not been retrained right back to his basic responses, it would have escalated into, him jacking up. And even if she went out to Pony Club and started doing little jumps and that, he would have stopped at the jumps. So, and also too, remember we took him in to see a chiropractor at the racecourse, and he showed that very high arousal levels, like your boy did, Melissa, going out to a club. So he showed a high arousal levels. He wasn't wanting to stand still. He was very alert. And so he was associating it with a racing environment. So even though they can be very calm at home, they, as I said, horses learn by association, and they have, especially if they've had 51 plus, quite a lot of racing starts and had a decent race career. They've got a lot of memories there. Horses have an incredible memory, and now he will never get rid of those memories. That's the thing, is you cannot delete any memories from a horse's brain, especially fear memories. And racing has a lot of fear memories for a lot of racehorses because they experience stress, anxiety, pain. You can imagine that they're working at the maximum pressure in a race, that burning in the lungs, they'll quite often bleed. If they're not bleeding, they're bleeding internally. So it can be very painful for them, very fearful because they're made to run at maximum pressure. The whip's involved. So it's a matter of looking at it more from a rehabilitation point of view as well, and understanding how the horse learns. They learn by association. They'll link going out with pain, the float with pain, or a new environment such as other horses around with pain. So it's a matter of being patient, eliminating any other issues that could be causing the high arousal. So he's scouring. So that's a perfect example of anxiety and nervousness. He's pulling back. So that's a sign of, if he's not tying up, a sign that he's not clear in his basic responses, even if he is anxious. And one of my horses, when I first took him out Dragon, he wouldn't stand still. I took him out to Goulburn Show. He wouldn't stand still. He improved towards the end of the day, but I'd already trained him to be clear in his basic responses. So even though he was anxious, he didn't pull back. So you've got some more control of them. You can actually ask them to slow down, and slow their legs, which helps calm them. He gets a bit hard to handle and lead, turns into an arrogant buffhead. So he's obviously being a bit pushy and things like that. Now that is just showing the signs of anxiety. unclear training signals. So he is showing that he's not clear in his basic responses. So I would go back to retraining right from the start. I would be interesting to I would to see if you had him scope for ulcers. I would say just that environment, the way he's behaving at club, that he could have gastric ulcers. Just that behavior in itself can create ulcers. Horses are so prone to gastric ulceration. So what I would do as well is I don't know if you feed lucerne hay. You're in Australia, so we call it lucerne here. If you're overseas, they call it alfalfa. So little things like eliminating gastric ulcers as some form of pain. And that if he's out there and he's getting aroused, they increase the gastric ulcer, the acid production in their stomach. So I would look at, let's go back to your steps. So one, go and start back at retraining the basic responses in hand. I've got some really good videos coming up, and I've got a whole retraining series coming up in the academy, but I have got some on my YouTube channel with Tommy and a lot more coming up. And if you have any of the Equitation Science books and videos, they'll go through retraining your stop and go and turn and yield to light responses. So until I get my retraining series up with Ty and some more videos up online on YouTube, they're really good books to refer back to help you with your retraining. 2, gastric ulcerations. Check him for gastric, have him scope for ulcers if you haven't. And then just check his meadow hay just to make sure he's not getting high starch, high carbohydrate hay. If he's scouring, he may have hindgut acidosis. And what is his manure like at home? Is he a little bit soft in his manure at home, or is he quite, healthy and firm in the balls? So, his manure balls, that will see whether he has some hindgut acidosis, which could also indicate some hindgut ulceration as well. And then calming pace do work, but I think that you want to look at, addressing whether he's got any ulcers and looking at him as a rehabilitation of teaching him a new association. So I would look at, he's got a good supplement. So you've got him on a good magnesium supplement in his diet. It seems pretty good. Let's check the meadow hay. You can give him a calming supplement when he gets out, but I would look at maybe giving him a gut health supplement more so than a calming supplement. So something that's going to coat his stomach so that if he is showing any signs of the anxiety and that it's going to protect his stomach lining. So you've got, I have to remember, so gastroaid recovery is good. There's other, let me look into, I would look more into a gut health type of supplement for him and dose him up before he goes out to a club day. Let me do a bit of research for you. I think there's some paste that you can get that can help with gut health and coating the lining of the stomach so that when he does get anxious that he's not creating ulcers on the day. So I'd look more at a gut health type of supplement. I'm not sure if digestive EQ has some. I know digestive EQ, what is it? Digestive EQ is, I was just speaking to someone else about it this morning. Digestive EQ, Poseidon products, they're a bit more expensive than Poseidon Equine, I think it is. But they're very good. And I think they may have a pace that you can give that would be good to give to him on the day. So I would look at more of a gut health supplement, something, we'll look into that Poseidon products, see if they've got anything. Also, lucerne hay, when you're taking there, so lucerne hay is also a very good buffer. I would look at giving him, when you're exercising him or when you're bringing him out for a club day or something, loosen hay, make sure he's got a good loosen hay is really good to give because it's buffering the stomach. So when you're floating him, before you put him on the float, see, floating in itself can cause anxiety. And I would, on the club day, I would make sure that you give him a nice amount of forage. Just give him a couple of biscuits of loosen hay. It's going to create a mat in his stomach, which is going to buffer the acid production, so it doesn't splash up onto the vulnerable parts of the stomach. So loosen hay. I always have a hay net when I'm exercising. So before you ride, every time, I've got some videos on YouTube actually, always have a hay net in front of them when I'm up grooming them of loosen hay or alfalfa hay if you're out in, if you're overseas, because I never work at horses on an empty stomach. Always give them some loosen hay. So having loosen hay for him there as well, and giving him loosen hay maybe in the float, and also a couple of biscuits of loosen hay before you go out, because he could be reacting to pain in his stomach as well. Just the arousal levels of his association of racing will create excess acid production if his stomach is empty or it hasn't got a good buffering of a nice mat of loosen hay in there. That's causing him pain, which is creating more anxiety for him. So just some things you can do to prevent any excess reasons for his behavior out at club day. It's initially happening because he's associating it with racing, you know, going out to race days. That's what I would definitely say. So it would be interesting to look at his history. I'd love to know, love to look up him as a racehorse. If you're happy to give me his race name, I can look him up for you. You may have it already, but I can get on and have a look him up for you and send through. See if he's had any embargoes against him. That gives you a sign of how his racing was and how he experienced it. So once you've got him, let's eliminate gastric ulcers. Let's get him onto a really good retraining program, going right back to basics. Even though he seems calm and everything at home, checking, is he slowing, is he going forward nice and lightly to your aids? Because even though he may be very calm, like Ty here, he was very heavy to the aids. He was very a bit dulled down and a bit shut down. He sort of didn't have a spark in his eye. And so I had to, so just going back and retraining the basic responses is really important, regardless of if they're quiet or not, because more than often than not, coming out of a racing career, we ride differently in track work. We ride differently. They work differently in racing. So they're not clear on the stop and go aids, and they're turning. They generally will lean into pressure. They use their body in a completely different way in racing. They've habituated to a lot of pressure, bit pressure. And so we need to retrain them to give to pressure and to be in self-carriage instead of leaning into pressure and depending on pressure. So we also, they're not, having them nice and clear to your stop and go aids and turning aids. They don't, it's not a priority in racing. It's more about endurance and speed and managing them as best we can with the level of, they're on a very high concentrate diet. So it's more about managing them and keeping, more so than having them light to their stop and go and that. So regardless of if he's, unless he's been retrained to his aids and he is nice and light when you ask him to go forward and stopping and stepping back. And I'll do a video for you to be able to check how he is with that. Put that down because someone else asked about that. So I do a video on that for you. So that's where I would start. And then once you know that, check for ulcers, check your meadow hay, even taking him out to, if you're taking him out to a club day, we need to now teach him that he's not there to race. So retraining in his basic responses at home and making sure he's nice and light at home will then give you the ability to have more control of him when he's out at a club day, so that you can slow his legs down and have him nice and light, because even though he might go back to being heavy, you've already trained him to be nice and light in his responses, so you'll be able to get that back a lot easier in the club environment. And I would look at teaching new associations, and it's going to take time. So let's say taking him out to club day, and when he's there, giving him a lovely, big, beautiful loosened hay, not keeping him away from the other horses, and maybe, I don't know, if at club day there's a nice green pick, standing there, also teaching him how easy to brush, teaching him giving him some positive reinforcement. So I always, off the track thoroughbreds tend to quite often not like being touched. They, they're an athlete, they're an elite athlete, they're a workhorse. So they're not mollycoddled like we do as in our equestrian sort of pleasure disciplines and at pony club or adult riding club and that. So we need to teach them to enjoy touch, and so finding tactile touch and finding their scratchy places on their body with a scratching, and that's an equitation science. It's been proven to lower their heart rate. So if you can find at home first his scratchy spot, where, he may put his nose up and do that funny lip thing, it has been shown to lower their heart rate. So if you can then take him to the club environment, and when he gets a little bit anxious, start scratching his wither and seeing if you can elicit a calming response from him. Take a nice loosened hay. So we need to retrain him, and that he has some new associations to going to adult, I presume it's adult riding club, or pony club if you're taking him for your daughter, I'm not sure, but or child, but teaching him a new association to going to the club, and that it's not racing, but it's, I come here and I eat loosened hay and I get to walk around. He's probably hearing, maybe if it's adult riding club or pony club, the speaker is going to be associated with a race day. And as I said, horses never, ever forget. Their memory is incredible. Those racing memories will always be there. But what we need to do is to build new associations and a library of new associations on top of the racing memories. And that's going to take time and reinforcement. So it's going to take time, and I would keep going to club days short. Not stay there the whole day, but go there, just expose him to the environment. Make sure you've addressed what I've spoken to earlier. Any gastric ulcerations, the loosened hay, giving him loosened hay before you put him on the float, and we'll look at, I'll look up the Poseidon products, because I'm pretty sure they have a paste that you can give him to protect his hindguts, and it probably has some calming in there as well, but not protecting his hindgut, his stomach. And just the meadow hay I think his diet looks really good. I'd just be interested to see what's in his meadow hay. I love Rhodes hay. It's low starch and low sugar, and making sure that he's not on any high starch, high carbohydrate type of forage. I think I've addressed that there. And going back and retraining him, regardless of whether he's quiet at home, going right back to the basics and retraining your basic responses, so he's nice and light and fluid, coming forward nice and lightly, popping up into trot. I've got so many videos to get out, guys. I really have. I've got like 72 videos of the whole of my day one with retraining Ty, all the way up till we went home. And I've got that in the Off The Track Thoroughbred Success Academy. I've started that. I had a bit of a nightmare and I've deleted everything, and I've had a few personal problems, which have set me back a little bit, but I've got it coming back. So I've just got so many videos to take you through from where you start all the way through, and that will be coming out. That's in the pipeline. So bear with me while I get that out. And some of those videos will be on YouTube as well. And heaps and heaps of videos. I've got so many videos. It's just I've got to go and edit them. It's the raw footage that I've just got to go and edit and change the files and put all my little wording in, my little pop-ups and all of that I do. So there's going to be a heap of videos for you to follow through with the whole retraining. But I hope that helps, Melissa. I hope that gives you somewhere to start. If you wanted to share his racing name with me, you can message me, and I'm more than happy to look him up for you. I can give you some insight into his racing career. And just looking to see whether he had any embargoes against him, whether he was, whether he retired with any injuries. Having worked in the industry for over 18 years, I know all of that, and I do love to look up them as individual horses and see how they experienced racing and their history. So let me know, and I'm happy to do that for you, and we can speak even through Messenger if you didn't want to make it public. But I hope that helps, Melissa. Let me know, and I might leave that one there, and I'll get back to you with the Poseidon products and see what they have there. Let me see. So that's the only question I have today. What I wanted to talk about, did have something else, but I might not go into it today because I wanted to do some posts on it. I'll go here. Let me just take a sip of coffee. Let me just have a look now while I'm here at the Poseidon products. Have a look. I know Poseidon and Dr. Nerida Richards does a lot with Poseidon as well. Poseidon, I don't even know how to spell it. Here we go, I found it. And it's Australian too. I'm not sure if they're available overseas, but let me just see what they've got here. I have 19 horses, so there's no way that I could afford to have all my horses on Poseidon. But I have another one. So if you're in Australia, Belinda's Amazing Minerals. Belinda is an equine nutritionist. I feed Belinda's Amazing Minerals, and I need I need a toxin binder with my guys. Let's just see. We look at the products. I'm sure they had a paste. Here we go. Let's have a look. Digestive EQ, I think we're nervous. Stress paste, here we go. They've got some Poseidon EQ has some wonderful, as Feed Excel, some really good equine nutrition articles. So let's have a look at the stress paste. And this is what I think would be good for your horse. With going out to Pony Club. So what's in this? A concentrated 60 ml nutritional formula designed to support your horses in times of acute stress, such as competing, racing, transporting. So with your horse scouring and that, he is definitely showing, oops, we've got a little poppy thing up. See what we can find in it. Here we go. Well, feed stress paste up to 60 minutes before the stress event, and then again 4 to 12 hours later. Let's see if I can find, here we go, ingredients. Yeast-derived prebiotic, magnesium hydroxide, vitamin premix with natural vitamin E, vitamin C, B vitamins, natural betaine, 309 pectin, glutamine, proline, and serine. So it's a gut supportive paste, and it's in a concentrated form. So I think that would really help give him when he goes out. Anyway, you can give it a go and see how it goes. But I think, let me know. I think I've given you a few tips there. So let me know how, if that helps. And I'll just show you if you can see it. It's backwards, isn't it? Poseidon Net stress paste. It's backwards. But that, just giving the stress paste without addressing the other things that other points and suggestions that I've said, is probably not going to do much. So the loosen hay, going back and retraining the basic responses, checking your meta hay, gastric ulcerations, getting him scoped for that, and being very patient. So keeping your visits to the club really short. As soon as he shows a sign of maybe relaxing, put him back, go back home. So don't keep it an all-day thing. Just keep it very short and keep it consistent, and try and over a period of time, you need to teach him new associations. As I said, finding a tactile, teaching him to enjoy a scratch somewhere, and you can take him out and try and elicit more of a relaxation response. Also, teaching him head down. This is a really good thing, and this is part of the basic responses. So when you get him out to the club environment and he starts to show some anxiety, asking him to lower his head. And I've got a video on that. I think it's a quick tip on how to calm your horse. And this is part of retraining the basic responses. Teaching him to lower his head is a really good tool to have in environments where they might get spooky or shy. That just teaching him to lower his head puts him in a more calming physical position, even momentarily. And that with some scratching will help him calm down. I've got a video on that. If you can't find it, I'll try and find the link. And I'll post it in the group. Teaching head down. That's on my YouTube channel, head down. And that's another good tool to have. So just having some tools in your box so that when you're out at club day with a scratching, teaching him to lower his head, physically puts him in a more calming position. When he's alert and buffy and everything, he's in the flight position. Can you see he's in flight mode? He's got those hormones and all the stress hormones going through his body, teaching him to lower his head, scratching him on the wither, even if you get it momentarily, is teaching him a new association. So that's another one as well. Teaching him, you teach this at home first, get a nice light response. Now I've got videos this with Ty. Seriously, I could not lower his head when I think it took me about 3 videos. I could hang off his head and swing around. Not that I did, but you could literally hang off his head, and I could not get him to give to downward pressure with his lead rope. So that's a good one to check as well. I'll teach that. Check basic responses. Because if he's, when you ask him to drop his head and there's no give, well, it's a sign that he's not clear in his basic responses. So teaching him nice, soft head down. And I've got a video of before and after with Ty as well. I haven't got that, but I'll put that up. I'll do one where you can see. I actually had to he was that hard to teach him to lower his head. I had to post, because I'm doing the Equitation Science Diploma, so we've got our own Facebook group. I had to post in there because he's one of the hardest horses that I've had to teach him to lower his head. Now, this is a horse. Oh, gosh, I'm in low on battery. Why is my dog's not my thing out? Wait till I always have my oh my gosh, don't want to fall out of the live. What's happened here? Oh, there we go. We're plugged in. I didn't realize my laptop was unplugged. It's just about to low battery. I had to post in the Equitation Science group and say, look, I just cannot get this horse to lower his head. And you see some suggestions on YouTube and that, you know, push them down from the pole. Well, you don't want to do that because that's actually going to make them push their head. We're never going to outdo the strength of a horse. So the way to be able to, if you've got a horse and off the track thoroughbreds can be like this, you just can't ask them to lower their head. Is rock back and forward and just get a tiny little elicit of a give. You have to learn to have good feel with horses, and with retraining. It's really good lesson, really good training for us as humans to get out of our head and into our body and into the present moment and start to be aware of when your horse gives, because to learn to feel for release of pressure with a horse is absolutely necessary for clear retraining. And we're in our heads so much of the time, or we may get frustrated. So horsing around, like training horses correctly is such a good lesson for us to be present in our body and out of our head and aware of how the horse is. So doing these, if you get a horse that just won't lower their head, just a little bit of rocking and feeling for that slightest give. Horses learn by the release of pressure, and if we don't give it the right time, they won't understand. They won't learn it, and they'll get confused, because if you're not giving when they give to pressure, well, they won't learn it, and if anything, that creates confusion for them. So, and this is what happens in racing. There's so much pressure with racehorses. There's no relief of the pressure that they have. They're taught to go up into the bridle. The bit pressure is excessive, and there's no release of any pressure. And they also tend to depend on the bit pressure and working on the forehand into the bridle. So they don't understand how to give to pressure, and we need to train them. But they've learnt to actually lean into pressure, or to pull back from it. So we need to teach them to give to pressure in every aspect. So even if they're dead quiet at home, they have most likely still habituated to pressure, like Ty, perfect example of a lovely, quiet, off-the-track thoroughbred that you can walk underneath his legs. I never walked underneath his legs, I can tell you that, but I think his young mum did. He was that quiet. He's just beautiful. But still, he had, I could not teach him to lower his head. His physical posture was horrendous. He had compensated so much in racing that he took so long to retrain to get a top line and to get self-carriage. So just because they're quiet doesn't mean that they're clear in their basic responses and that they haven't had trauma associations and high anxiety, and that horses hide pain very well. They all have different temperaments. Different breeds also have different temperaments. As someone who's worked in racing for a long while, I know Ty, for instance, he had in Costa del Lago as part of his, I think it was his grandsire, and they are just beautiful horses. They're so calm. Certain breeds, and also I am Invincibles, they're just generally really calm horses. And then you get the hotter breeds, the breeds that will show conflict behaviors and confusion in a more of an outward expression. I'm trying to think of some. Well, my first off the track thoroughbred was one of those. This is an older sire, Air de France. I'm trying to think of having a mental blank. Some of the hot breeds. I'm having a mental blank at the moment. I know some because I've ridden quite a few of them. It'll come to my mind. I'm having a mental blank. But yeah, I like to look at the breeding as well, because it gives me an idea of the type of temperament the horse has, because genetics does have a lot to do with it. And if we've got a horse, certain breeds that, my God, I just had a breed. Well, Air de France was one of them, but he's an older sire. It's on the tip of my head. There was one that was they just tended to buck, drop their head and drill you. And I can't remember the name, but anyway, that comes into it as well. So like us humans, we are all different personalities, and our genetic makeup has something to do with it, and horses are no different. And it's nice to be able to address them as individuals. Just a point here, horses are never go out to make our lives difficult. They are horses, and they have their unique temperaments, but any conflict behaviors, some may be more sensitive than others. Thoroughbreds in general are a very sensitive breed, but they learn very quickly as well. They're an amazing breed, but they are a sensitive breed. But they horses, if there's ever a problem with your horse, that's what I heard. Conflict behaviors, I always have the attitude, and I teach the attitude, it is never the horse's fault. Ever the horse's fault. We have to learn why are they doing it. It's usually human intervention somewhere along the line. If you've got an off the track thoroughbred, well, we know they've gone through such an intensive life in racing. Even if they didn't get a start, they still, if they've been in training, it's still intense for them. A couple of my horses didn't get to the races, but I know one was a barrier rogue, and she's, oh my gosh, she's gone down and floats with me and everything. She pulls back. And another one, two of my worst horses, I'm not going to say worst, but two of my horses, they haven't come into retraining yet, but two of them never, ever got to the races. And they have the most, they have behavior problems, behavior issues. I haven't brought them into retraining yet. But one was a barrier rogue, wouldn't go into the barriers, and the other guy, well, he actually wiped me out, pulled back and shied, and he was so-called quiet at going around. He's a roarer, but he had breathing difficulties and he never got to the races. So just because they haven't had a start doesn't mean that they haven't experienced racing and the racing environment, because they definitely have. Anyway, I might leave it there. I hope that has been, let me just go here. Okay, so I hope that Melissa, when you watch this replay, because I know that you probably haven't, you said you couldn't make the live, I hope that it has given you some tips of where to start. Let me know in the comments, and please reach out. We can talk about it more. And yeah, I'll leave it there, and I will see you in the group. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments. There will be a replay available of this later. It takes a little bit longer to upload on YouTube for the replay. So I'll have this up tonight in the Facebook group. And when I learn how to live stream to Facebook as well, I'll do that. I'll try and do that for next week, so I can live stream both on YouTube and Facebook. So have a lovely week, everybody, and I will see you in the Facebook group. And before I go, just a warm welcome to all our new members. Thank you for joining the group. It's so lovely to watch the group grow. And please feel free to post, put up any questions that you have. It's an educational group. The only thing I ask is please don't, no promotions or spam, no promotions, selling things unless it's educational. So anything to do with, training, equitation science, classical dressage, but no promoting, products or things like that to sell. But definitely, I know we have some hoof, barefoot experts and hoof experts in there. Anything educational that will help with learning is more than welcome, but no sort of personal selling. Definitely not horses, and no products and things like that. Horses, the group will get pulled down. Facebook's gone crazy at the moment, so we just need to be very careful. Anyway, I will see you in the group, and also for next week's Q&A. Bye. Who wants to say goodbye? Minnie wants to say goodbye. There's always dogs in the video saying Minnie. She wasn't very impressed when she woke up this morning. It's freezing here down near camera, and she was not happy. Are you sleepies? She said, just put me down on your lap. She has to be on my lap non-stop, and Poppy has to be on the chair next to me. I'll just pop her back down there. See ya.